Hi, so on today's video we're going to cover the second group of exercises, or the second muscle group, and that's the hip extension. So the hip extension exercises are the ones that cover your glutes, hamstrings and lower back when they're working in a chain together. So those three muscles, along with a lot of others, work in a chain called posterior chain. Normally, when people are talking about the posterior chain, they mean glutes, hamstrings, lower back, even though it does cover the full back of your body. So the hardest thing to coach in the gym is hip extension exercises. Your good mornings, your RDLs, any personal trainers or strength coaches watching this, you'll be able to attest to that. The hardest thing to get people doing properly with proper technique is hip extension. So what is hip extension, you might ask? So hip extension basically is on your RDLs, you push your hips back, bring your hips forward. The same with good mornings, very similar movement, push your hips back, bring your hips forward like that, and the same again with back extension. So even though you're doing holding the barbell in different places or you're a different angle with the back extension, it's the same movement and the same muscles being worked just from different angles and different strength curves. That's what hip extension is. So deadlifts is an obvious one, but I don't coach or do much deadlifts myself, so I'm not putting it in here. So the ones that I do in the gym a lot with myself and my clients are the ones shown here. And the first one is RDLs, holding the barbell out in front of you. The second one is good mornings, so exact same movement as the RDLs. You push the hips back, stretch on the glutes and hamstrings, and then come back up to the same starting position as RDLs. And then the third exercise is the 45-degree back extension. So 45-degree back extension I'm a massive fan of, use that a lot in the gym. Really good exercise for teaching people to contract their glutes at the top, especially if you're using a band. So obviously we can't do those exercises if you're working off minimal equipment at home. So if you have barbells or heavy enough dumbbells, you will be able to do those exercises, but we'll take it for now that you don't have them. So what will we do instead? There's numerous very good hip extension exercises you can do with just body weight or bands or light weight. And I would really recommend you using this time to get very good at these hip extension exercises, because people neglect giving them the time that they need in the gym to really work on the technique and improve their technique. So use this time out of the gym to get really good at these basic bodyweight style hip extension exercises. And when you go back into the gym, when you add weight, it's going to feel so much better. And no matter who you are, myself included, you can do with working on your hip extension technique. It's something that needs coaching and needs going over and over again to make sure you're doing it properly. The first exercise we're going to do is banded hip thrust. So on hip thrusts, before I show you the video, what I want you to focus on all your hip thrusts. From here, so where your dot is there, that bone in between your two pecs, from there back to the back of your head stays in the same position. So while your hips go back and your hips squeeze up at the top and you squeeze your glutes and really feel them contract up at the top, your upper body stays in the exact same place. So while watching this video now of the banded hip thrust, pay special attention to my upper body, say from my dot in there in between my two pecs to all the way back at the top of my head is staying in the exact same position, while the hips are moving lower but not too low and squeezing real high up against the top. The band obviously allows for a far bigger contraction of the glutes, so you really squeeze tight, really full contraction of the glutes up at the top. The second exercise I'm going to show you is the Serrano Good Morning. So taken from Dr. Eric Serrano, genius of a guy. If you go and look him up, he's great stuff online. All you need for this is a band or even a broom. You don't need any weight as such. You hold the band straight overhead like you're doing an overhead squat as shown in the video, and you really push the hips back. Now because where the weight is being held, you don't need much weight, and you really get a massive stretch on your glutes, and your whole posterior chain will be felt working really hard here. I love these as a warm-up drill, but while we're in self-isolation, we're going to use that as a way of teaching hip extension and getting a really good stretch on the glutes and the hamstring. And having the band overhead forces you to get your shoulder blades back really tight and push your hips back, keeping a straight lower back, which a rounded lower back is often a problem in hip extension exercises. Banded good morning that's shown there, so instead of having the band up above your head like the Serrano good morning, you have it around your feet and your neck, and there's far more resistance in this than the Serrano good morning. So the tension comes from as you move from the bottom, the stretch position, which is the hardest part of the good morning, to the top, the easiest part. You get far more tension as the band lengthens. So that's simply as the way you should be using a band for any exercise, to make it harder at the easiest part of the lift. And the easiest part of a good morning is up the top. So if you have the band placed properly around your feet and your neck, then as you come to the top, you should really feel your glutes contract really hard in that hip extension position that we're talking about. I really like this exercise. Pay attention to it and get good at it over this time in self-isolation, because it will pay back when you're going back into the gym or onto the football pitch and using heavier weights or using your sprints. If your hips feel great through hip extension exercises, you're going to feel so much better in the gym or on the pitch. So exercise number 4 is the single leg hip thrust. Another exercise I've been using a lot in the last 6 months that I hadn't really used in the previous 10 years before that. So shoulders back. You want that point in between your pecs to the top of your head in a fixed position, really tight, and then thrust up. The one leg is doing all the work, the other leg is bent. I prefer the leg that's not doing the work to be a little bit off the ground, but some people have it just resting on the ground, taking no weight. I don't really mind what you do, as long as the single leg that is working really hard. Don't let your knees collapse inwards. I like lifting my big toe off the ground in this one as well, and I feel a harder contraction up at the top. And finally, the 5th exercise is the hip bridge. So I'm going to show you 2 variations here. So instead of the hip thrust where your shoulders are elevated, the hip bridge is just where your neck and shoulders are on the ground. So to start it off, you pull your heels as far back close to your ass as you can, and then you push your knees out hard as you can, and you just start thrusting from there, so like the normal hip thrust. And in this position you will feel your glutes contract that bit harder and feel it a little bit less on the hamstrings than a normal hip thrust. The second variation shown there in the video as well is where your feet are elevated. I find this great for making it a little bit harder, and moving on to second programs, third programs, this is perfect variation to move on. So on this one, don't go all the way down to the ground, drive real up high, get that real squeeze on the glutes at the top, real thrust, straight line from shoulders to knees, don't hyperextend, and you'll feel a big pump in your glutes. Okay, so that's exercise group number 2. Tomorrow we're going to do squats. So between the leg curl exercises yesterday and the hip extension exercises today, the posterior chain, which is often neglected in home workouts, should be well covered and should give you plenty of variety there over the next few weeks in your home workouts, that you don't have to feel like you're doing the same exercise over and over again. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.